Careful. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Moving People to Action. My name is Tim Clark, the founder of this social media platform that our goal is to create opportunities to have meaningful conversations that will lead to empowering people to make informed decisions, MP to action. We have a great panelist for you tonight. Focus will be really on the impact of mental and behavioral health, really largely caused by what is happening here in this environment, and particularly COVID-19. But I want to bring on our co-host tonight, actually our facilitator, host tonight. I'm kind of doing the Russell Simmons kind of thing. I'm going to introduce and I'm going to get out of the way. But Larry Duncan has been really part of this community for many years, over 20 plus years, a military guy, and really has committed a lifetime of really studying and focusing on behavioral health, mental and behavioral health. He serves as the director behavioral health for Charles Drew Health Center here in this great city, Omaha, Nebraska. And so with that, I would like to bring on Larry. I want to thank him. Larry, first of all, thank you, man, for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate this is a request that I get pretty often, and very rarely say no to speaking on the subject.
So let's just a little bit before we bring Brother Heem on to set the stage, but just in terms of your role that you're functioning in right now, let's talk about that a little bit in terms of just what is your role and responsibility at Charles Drew Community Health Center?
Yeah, I'm the senior director here at Charles Drew. Matter of fact, I'm in the building right now, and this is my office, and so I'm over the behavioral health department, and so that's a whole entire portfolio of services that we provide to the community, primarily North and Northeast Omaha, in the three primary zip codes that surround Charles Drew here on 30th and Grant. So we provide behavioral health services, individual counseling, group counseling, education, psychosocial education for adults, for youth. We are positioned in school-based health centers. So we actually have therapists in high school, West High School. We have therapists in King Elementary. We have therapists in Belvedere, and see where else we have therapists. I'm leaving the school out. So, but in general, we are in the school-based with therapists. We also are at the county jail. We provide evaluations and assessments in the county jail at Douglas County Jail. In addition to that, we're at DCYC, and we are providing therapeutic services to the youth and DCYC for a long period of time. It could be said that there was no therapy for the kids, babies, while they were in detention. Well, that is no longer the case. As of last year, we've been providing services and assessment services for them also. So we have a team of 14 therapists. So it's a combination of mental health therapists and drug and alcohol therapists and individuals who have a combination of the two. So those are the services that we provide. From my standpoint, it takes a lot of administration to execute all that. So from my standpoint, I'm the person that's behind the scenes doing all the administration that causes all that to happen. I also work with a great partner a man by the name of Ted Lampkin. Actually, we have worked together for a long period of time. And
Okay.
so we were in private practice together. And then so here he is associate director along with me. So I do have a great deal of help. He oversees the day-to-day operations. We both still see clients.
Okay.
Not a lot of them,
Okay.
but we both still see clients. And so from a standpoint of
Well, it sounds like you're extremely busy.
to say the least, but I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, man. Well, hey, I'm going to get out of your way. I just wanted to just have some dialogue with you, but really would like for you to take it from here. And again, thank you. This is a very meaningful conversation that we must have, especially as Black men, and even I think, you know, in terms of just myself and the mental aspect of just the need of to stop, pause, and really raise your hand and say, hey, I need help. I need to talk to someone. And so, well, I have a few questions on the back end. I'm doing the kind of the Larry, the Russell Simmons. So I'll come back and help you wrap it up, man. But I'm going to go ahead and let you do your thing, and we'll go from there. Okay, I'll see you on the backside.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks again, Tim Clark. And so at this point, that's what we want to do. We want to address the whole issue of mental health in our community in particular. And we have two great panelists on tonight. And so at this point, we're going to bring up Mr. Raheem Sanders, and he's going to do introductions from there.
All right, what's going on, my good man? What's going on, good people? How y'all doing today?
I'm good.
All right. So tonight we got an interesting topic. So, you know, what's the question to set it off?
Well, I would say, you know, in general, when we're talking about mental health, we take for granted that what mental health is, what that really means. It's two words that covers a whole lot of different things. So I think tonight we'll be able to really dig into that and get a real full understanding of what mental health is all about. But just to start it off, what would you say is the state of mental health right now? How would you speak to the whole issue of what is the state of mental health right now?
All right, that's actually a really good question. Before I jump into the state of mental health, I do want to address, at least from a data perspective, of what mental health is. We're going to have a lot of, you know, good professionals on, including yourself, my good man. But just for people to know exactly what mental health is, mental health, especially a mental health crisis, is a crisis situation that exists anytime where, you know, someone feels no longer safe with themselves or with others and is in need for immediate action, for intervention. Signs of what a mental health crisis look like usually consist of rapid mood swings, extreme energy or lack of, you know, a lot of sleeping or the inability to sleep, a lot of agitation, a lot of confused thinking and irrational thoughts, thinking people are out to get them. It's a really a sense of endangerment and threats that one feels for himself. So then there's a perception of these threats in their environment. So a lot of hallucinations and delusions, making threats to others or themselves, isolating themselves from people that they love, not eating or taking care of themselves. And at the end, like a lot of people talk about, you know, suicidal thoughts. So that's kind of what a mental health crisis is. So in terms of the state of mental health, statistically, 1 in 4 people are afflicted by mental health illness at some point in their lives, and women are twice as likely as men to be diagnosed with a mental health illness. Since the beginning of this year, 40% of adults have experienced some symptoms of mental health, some symptoms of depression or anxiety, all right, especially during the COVID-19 epidemic. I think from the statistics, 3 times as more of adults experience these symptoms than they would post or pre the COVID pandemic. So that means the mental health crisis have impacted a lot of adults in our country and around the world. But we just stated some statistics about, adults and what that may seem like. But you have to also remember that children also have mental health illnesses as well. But before I get into the children, I want to make sure that we also state the fact that 2/3 of people with mental health conditions don't receive the care that they need. So they may be going through all of these feelings and experiencing all of these things, but they are not receiving the care. Like if I had, let's say, COVID, I would go to my doctor and he'll get me straight. But with mental health, a lot of people aren't turning to proper care to get this resolved. And then what happens is that people with serious mental health illnesses are twice as likely to develop cardiovascular and metabolic diseases. The way that you feel about yourself impacts the way that your body operates within yourself. Don't have all the statistics, but people with depression have 40% higher risk of developing different, cardiovascular and metabolic diseases. And it can range from a lot of the things that's, going on within your environment. As we mentioned with depression has been a hot topic, but I think by the data, over 30 million people across the world has experienced some type of depression within, their lifetime, especially during the COVID epidemic. And if you can at least imagine what that impact would have on someone's life if they've experienced it for a long point in time, now we're talking about a mental health illness that has, transformed itself into a chronic disease. So let's go back for a second. We talked about how mental health is impacting the adults, but there's no child health without the adult caregiver health. So if the adult caregiver is experiencing mental health,
right, exactly.
How do you expect that child to be impacted? I believe from the data, 40% of parents reported that their child has new or worsening mental health conditions since the beginning of the pandemic. And a little bit over 30% of the parents that has reported these illnesses with their child, they were also reported trying to seek help for their children with a mental health provider. And that's important because if majority is hard for parents to find help, and it's hard for parents to find help for their children, I would also like to transition to people of color, because generally I was just talking about ordinary people, but now
you're talking about mental health as a whole, right?
Indeed. But now that you put a label to it or a classification to it, let's just put a skin color to it.
Okay. All right.
COVID has brought a wave of mental health, a lot of anxiety, stress, fear, economic instability, isolation all across the country. Right. But we haven't focused on that impact on people of color during the COVID epidemic. We just came up on 1 year of George Floyd, right? So as people of color, seeing those type of images on TV, not just George Floyd, but all of the other police killings and shootings, the images of Black people shot and killed by police, the mass protests, and especially the shock of the Capitol riot has opened up a deep wound of racism within the American culture. And based on the data, there's racial disparities within the mental health services that are provided to people of color. If we look at the data, 86% of mental health practitioners, psychologists are white. So that leaves less than 2% are African American. So
Mhm.
if we have this large African American culture being impacted not only by COVID, not only by mental health, but the racial disparities and the impact that comes along with it, is really hard for people of color to not only find people that can relate to them,
Mhm.
but can seek mental health services that are appropriate, that can provide them with the care that they need. So in terms of the state of mental health, to be quite honest, usually I'm in a happy mood, but we're in a pretty bad state.
Mm.
People are hurting everywhere, especially people of color.
Mhm. But you've downloaded quite a bit of information with that, and that's going to set the stage very well for our
That's what
conversation
we do.
tonight. I know we're approaching a break here pretty shortly, but as we go into the
Mhm.
break, what kinds of things would you say that are in the environment that we have in our favor? So you painted a picture of mental health in general, as far as how it's affecting the country and how it's affecting the people really globally. And then you drill down some in regards to how it's affecting people of color. And we hope to talk about that a little bit more with the panelists that we have coming on. So I think that's a good setup for our conversation for the night. But yes, if you could leave it with one thing before we go into the break, what in our environment do we have in our favor? What's working
All
for
right.
us that's going to help us move forward?
All right. So to keep it brief, to be honest with you, like I mentioned, the mental health pandemic that we are experiencing is a great one, not only for people at large, but especially for people of color. But what we do have in our environment in this moment in 2021 is that we have three things that can help us out. We have one, that there's a focus on mental health. Traditionally, we didn't talk about it, but now we are. So now we have that focus. The
Okay.
second one that we have is empathy, all right? People, now that they know it's an issue, they feel some type of way about it. So I think that's something in our favor, especially in people of color and what we've been dealing with. And the last thing I think we have in our environment, we're in a modern century. So what we have most is the creativity. We got the technology, we got the resources.
Okay.
Based on what they've been passing out with these stimulus checks, we got the funds. So what are we going to do about it?
Mhm. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to leave it as we go into the break. There are some unique things that we're facing as a people, Black people, people of color, and there's some unique things that we're facing as a country in relates to mental health. It is encouraging to see that some of the initiatives from the federal government in particular is investing in addressing some of these concerns. And we will surely pick it up from here after the commercial break and drill down further. All right, we'll be glad to do it.
All right, see you soon.
All righty. We're going to commercial.